Most people walk right past it. They see it creeping along the garden edge, spreading low across the bare dirt beside the bean rows, tucking itself into the cracks of old stone walls, and they think weed, nuisance, something to pull or spray and forget. But up here in these hollers, the old women knew better. They knew this little plant by name, knew when it was ready, knew how to lay it on the table, and feed a family well on what the land gave free. And what the land was giving them, it turns out, was something science is only now getting loud about. This common weed, the one your neighbor just poisoned last Tuesday, contains more omega-3 fatty acid per gram than most of the farmed salmon sitting in that grocery cooler 40 miles down the mountain. Today, I want to tell you about Appalachia's forgotten secret, and I want to tell you why we let ourselves forget it. The plant we are talking about is Purslane, Portulaca, oleracea, if you want the Latin, but nobody in these mountains ever called it that. Up here, it went by pusley. You will still hear that name from the old timers if you catch them in the right mood. Some folks just called it holler weed or fat weed or little hogweed, though that last name never did it justice. It is a low-spreading succulent, and that word succulent is the key. This plant holds water in its thick little leaves the way a cactus does, which makes it tough and rubbery and bright, nothing like the limp greens you might expect from something growing in bare dirt. The stems run red or deep pink, spreading out from a central root like spokes on a wheel lying flat against the ground. The leaves are small and paddle-shaped, smooth and glossy, almost like tiny green spoons. And in the heat of summer, if you look close, you will see the tiniest yellow flowers opening up. 5 petals, cheerful as anything, right there in the dirt where most people are walking without looking down. That is the heart of it, really. We stopped looking down. We stopped seeing what the ground was offering. Purslane hides in plain sight because it grows where we have decided nothing worth eating ought to grow. Along roadsides, in vegetable gardens, in the disturbed earth at the edge of a gravel drive, in the thin, dry soil where nothing else will thrive. It does not ask for good land. It does not ask for rain or attention or rich bottom ground. It just comes every spring and summer, patient and quiet, the same way it has been coming to these mountains for longer than anyone can remember. Now, about those omega-3s. A peer-reviewed analysis published in the Journal of the American College of Nutrition, real science, not somebody's blog, found that 100 grams of fresh purslane leaves contains somewhere between 300 and 400 milligrams of alpha-linolenic acid, which is the plant form of omega-3 fatty acid. That figure has been cited again in research published through PubMed Central, so this is not a one-time finding somebody cooked up. 300 to 400 milligrams per 100 grams of fresh leaf. Now, I want you to sit with that for a moment because that is remarkable for a plant. Most vegetables contain trace amounts of ALA, a whisper of it. Purslane contains enough that researchers have called it one of the richest plant sources of omega-3 on Earth. And when you compare it to farmed salmon, which is fed a controlled diet and often ends up lower in omega-3 than wild-caught fish, purslane holds its own in a way that would have surprised nobody who grew up eating it, and surprises almost everyone who didn't. That is the thing about old knowledge. It is not wrong just because it got quiet. For generations, mountain families in these hollers foraged purslane the same way they foraged ramps and branch lettuce and poke, carefully, knowledgeably, as part of a table that depended on what the season put in front of you. Spring meant greens, and pusley was one of the early ones. Tender and mild before the summer heat turned it a little tart. My granny kept it simple. She'd gather a good apronful when it was young, wash it at the spring, and cook it down with whatever fat she had, a little lard, a streak of bacon, maybe some onion, a pinch of salt. That was supper. Not because there was nothing else, but because that was good. That was what the mountain gave, and you honored what the mountain gave. It was part of the traditional Appalachian table the same way muscadines and pawpaws and black walnuts were part of it. Not exotic, not special in the way we use that word now, just known. Ordinary knowing. The kind that does not get written down because everyone already has it. And then, somewhere along the way, everyone stopped having it. It happened the way so many losses happen up here. Not all at once, not with any announcement, just gradually as one generation moved to the factory towns and the next one grew up without a garden, and the herbicide companies got good at telling people that a weed is a problem to solve. Roundup came to the hollers the same way it came everywhere else, and Purslane, being the tough little thing it is, got classified as a resistant weed, which means people sprayed it harder, not softer. Younger families never learned the name. The granny women who knew it got old and passed, and what they knew went with them, unless somebody thought to ask. That is the grief I carry when I talk about this. Not anger, grief. Because the knowledge was there. The plant was there. The land never forgot. We just stopped listening to it. And the land is still offering it. Right now, wherever you are reading or watching this, if there is a garden within walking distance, or a disturbed patch of ground, or an old fence line, Purslane is almost certainly there. It never left. It is one of the most common plants on the surface of this earth, growing on every continent, stubborn and generous in equal measure. The secret was never in the plant. The secret was in the knowing. Now let me tell you what else that knowing contains, because the omega-3 is only where the story starts. That same PubMed Central Research pulled USDA National Nutrient data on Purslane, and the numbers are striking. 100 grams of fresh Purslane gives you 26.5 milligrams of vitamin C. The same vitamin C that kept mountain people from the diseases of deficiency when winter had stripped every garden bare. It gives you 22 milligrams of vitamin E in the form the body uses best. And for beta-carotene, which the body converts to vitamin A, Purslane ranks at the top of all green leafy vegetables by USDA measure. The highest, not near the top, the highest. For potassium, that same database records 494 milligrams per 100 grams, more than a banana, and a banana has a reputation for potassium that most people never question. Magnesium comes in at 68 milligrams per 100 grams, which matters enormously in a time when so many people are quietly deficient in it and do not know why they feel tired and tight and wrong in their bodies. And layered through all of this are antioxidant compounds, the kinds of molecules that fight the slow cellular damage that comes with age and exposure and the ordinary hard work of being alive. A wild superfood. Not because some wellness brand declared it, because the science says so and the mountain knew it long before the science got around to looking. So let me help you find it, because the first step to eating what the land offers is learning to see it. Purslane grows low and spreading rarely more than a few inches off the ground, though in good rich soil it will sometimes get a little bolder. The stems are the giveaway, that distinctive red or reddish pink color, thick and smooth and almost rubbery to the touch. The leaves are small, rounded, fleshy, and if you snap one open, it will be juicy inside, which is how you know it is a true succulent. The yellow flowers are tiny, 5-petaled, and they open in bright sunlight and close again in the shade or in the cool of morning. So catch them at midday if you want to see them. The whole plant tends to radiate outward from a single central taproot, Lying close to the earth, like it is listening to it, it thrives in full sun on disturbed or poor soil. Garden beds, paths, gravel edges, fields that have been turned or grazed. You will find it in the vegetable garden competing with your tomatoes, in the bare patch beside the barn, along the creek bank where the ground got disturbed by last spring's flooding. Once you have seen it, truly seen it, you will see it everywhere. And you will feel what I feel every time, a little grateful and a little ashamed that we ever forgot. Harvest the young growth, the tender tips of the stems and the small fresh leaves. Morning is a fine time, after any dew has dried, but before the heat of the day sets in. Wash it well, the way you would wash any green pulled from the ground. And then, cook it or don't. Fresh purslane has a mild, faintly lemony flavor with a little bit of crunch, and it does beautifully in a simple green salad the way you would use watercress or arugula. Dress it with a little vinegar and oil, maybe some sliced tomato from the garden, some dried herb from last summer's hanging bundles. Simple, good. If you want to cook it, do what the old women did. Saute it in a little fat with garlic and onion until it softens and goes silky, a little like cooked spinach, but richer, and serve it alongside whatever is coming off the stove. It is good with eggs in the morning, good with beans, good with cornbread. It fits the mountain table because it grew out of mountain soil, and the two things belong together. Some folks like to pickle purslane in late summer when there is more of it than you can eat fresh. A simple brine, vinegar, salt, a little sugar, maybe a dried pepper if you like heat, and it will keep for months in the cellar or the back of a cool pantry. Pull it out in January and put it on the table and remember what the land gave you in July. And if you are the kind who makes smoothies, purslane blends in without a strong taste, which means you get all those omega-3s and vitamins and potassium without your drink tasting like a garden. Let it be the quiet foundation of something good. That is what it has always been. This is not really just about a weed, though. You know that by now. Every time we go back to what the mountain offered, every time we learn a name that the old women knew and pass it on, we are doing something that matters more than nutrition. We are saying this knowledge belongs to us. We are saying it does not have to die with the last generation that lived close enough to the land to learn it by doing. We are saying the hollers still have something to teach, and we are still worth teaching. There is a kind of self-reliance that money cannot buy and a store cannot sell. It lives in the ability to look at a so-called weed and know its name, its season, its gifts, its place on the table. The granny women knew this. The Cherokee women who walked this land before them knew this. The Scots-Irish settlers who came to these mountains knowing hunger and learning survival knew this. The African-American root workers and healers who tended this knowledge through generations of hardship knew this. All of that knowing flowed together into the mountain tradition, and what came out of it was a people who could feed themselves from the land when the land was all they had. That is not a small thing. That is not a thing to be ashamed of or sentimental about. It is a thing to be proud of and to carry forward. The purslane is still out there. It did not go anywhere. It is growing right now, probably within a quarter mile of wherever you are sitting. All you have to do is go find it, learn it, pick it, and put it on your table. And in that one small act, you are bringing something back that this world has been too quick to throw away. If you have seen pusley growing in your holler or in your garden or along your road, I want to know. Drop it in the comments below. Those stories are part of the record now, and they matter. And if you want more of this, more lost mountain foods, more old remedies, more of the knowledge that the granny women carried and we are determined not to lose, then stay with us here on Ruby's Remedies. Subscribe so you do not miss what is coming. Because there is so much more the mountain has to say, and we are just getting started.